When a scraper gets blocked, changing the user agent is the first thing most people try. Years ago, that was real stealth advice. In 2026, it barely moves the needle, and I'll show you why in this video. I've been doing support at Browserless for several years, and I've seen a lot of people assume that setting the user agent changes the device, the viewport, the whole browser, and that's just not the case. Before the demo, let's get clear on what a user agent actually is. A user agent is a string that describes what your browser claims to be. And the keyword here is claims. It's self-reported, a label, not an ID check. It can influence what a server sends you. For example, some sites read it and hand back a download for Windows or a download for Mac. Or they'll block a browser version that they no longer support. But that's just the server choosing to react. It doesn't actually change or swap the browser engine behind it. A Chromium browser wearing a Safari user agent is still Chromium. In 2026, the user agent isn't one single thing anymore. Your browser reports the user agent in multiple places, like the classic user agent header, the JavaScript navigator.user agent, and client hints. Client hints are new headers, just like these. They exist because browsers trimmed down the old string on purpose. Those modern Chrome versions ending in .0.0.0, that's just a reduced format now. One caveat though is that it's mostly a Chromium based browser thing, so don't assume every browser exposes the same client hint surface. And changing one of these surfaces doesn't cleanly change the rest. Set an iPhone user agent and some signals will follow, but the ones that really identify the browsers don't. That gap is where it breaks. Let's look at this script. I'm connected to a real Chromium browser on Browserless. And first, let's run this with the default settings. And you'll see this user agent, it literally says HeadlessChrome. That's an obvious giveaway because it's announcing an automated browser. So any basic detection script can catch it immediately. And the fix is really easy. I'll just add a query parameter of headless set to false. And if I run this, now we'll see the user agent showing a much more convincing Chrome user agent. And the browser actually renders like a real user because it uses a simulated screen called XVFB. So it'll pass JavaScript challenges and whatnot. Now, another classic move everyone makes is to set the user agent to something, say like an iPhone directly. And yeah, the string flips. We can see the navigator.user agent says iPhone, the HTTP header says iPhone, and that's awesome. But notice everything else. The brand is still Chromium and the platform is still Linux. It's still honestly saying what it is. And if we look at the screenshot it took of this BBC homepage, we can observe that it's rendering the full desktop site. The width still says 1280 and mobile media query says false. We told it it's an iPhone and the page just didn't buy it. Underneath, the brand still says Chromium and the platform still says Linux. And you'll ask yourself, why isn't the viewport rendering like a phone? Well, Playwright has device descriptors, which is the real way to do it. I'll just import devices, and by adding this one line and referencing it here, I get a much more complete iPhone style emulation profile for user agent, screen size, viewport, and touch behavior. And now it changes. The viewport drops to phone width, the layout finally goes mobile, and the mobile flag flips to true. And the screenshot taken of the BBC homepage now looks like a mobile responsive site. That's closer to device emulation, not just a spoofed label. We changed how the device presents itself as a device, but it still doesn't change the browser engine underneath. It's still Chromium on Linux. So what is it actually good for? Is it useful at all? Yes, but it's just narrower than people think. It's still useful for content and routing. If a site serves different markup by user agent, this is how you want to do it. But here's the practical takeaway. User agent spoofing is no longer a reliable device disguise for stealth. At best, it changes a few signals, but not all of them. And yes, you can go further into it and patch the platform, fake the brand, or add more values, but that's just a little deeper dive than just a user agent string. So if you're testing sites for responsive layouts, that comes from the viewport size, not the user agent string. And for bot detection and fingerprinting, assume the site is comparing many signals, not trusting the user agent on its own. The user agent is just the name tag, it's not the person wearing it. Change it when you need a site to treat you as a certain browser, just don't expect it to change what your browser actually is under the hood. If this video was useful, please consider subscribing and liking this video. And if you'd like me to make another video going deeper into this subject, please comment in the section below. This was Alejandro from Browserless. I'll see you on the next one.